Well, I'd like to welcome each one out to the service this evening. Thank you for coming out. I enjoyed that singing. It would suit me just fine to keep right on singing. But anyway, we are here for prayer meeting, and also sing God's glory and praise. And so thank you for coming out. I talked to Roger, and he's agreed to have a short topic for us this evening. And so I think there's a couple people that have the classes prepared. So I guess we have volunteers for 3rd through 6th. So we dismiss 3rd through 6th, and then we have a class for the youngsters as well, for 1st through, let me see here, 2nd grade on down. And I don't think we're looking for any more volunteers. I think we got it all covered, so we'll dismiss all the children. So with this, I will turn the time over to you, Roger, and when you're finished, just turn it back over to me.
Good evening to each one. My wife and the boys are with Doug and Charity at Halfway House in Louisville, so I'm sure they'd be glad for our prayers this evening. Let's turn to the book of Daniel, chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10, starting at verse 12. And I'd just like to read a couple of verses here. Daniel chapter 10, verses 12 to 14. It says, "Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the princes of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For yet division is for many days." Okay, there's one thing I'd like to get out of here, and what I'd like to do this evening is just look at prayer a little bit. I think this is something that we can clearly be encouraged in, I think. And I appreciate everyone here. I just wish there to be some more. So, it's a very, very important topic, prayer. And I'd like to look at, if I have enough time, at 3 different things about prayer. First of all, this is one of the passages that have always baffled me, and it still does. And I'm not quite sure exactly what it's talking about, because it says, verse 13, "But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days." And Daniel was seeking God and praying, and there was no answer for 21 days. There was no answer. Until finally, this angel came to him, and the angel told him that the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. And it says, "But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me." I've always wondered what that means. And I think I've gotten settled on something, and I'm not sure if this is right or not. But let's try to explain it like this. Sometimes animals, they will create a domain around them. Like dogs, they will, I don't know how they do it, they scout out a certain area, and that's their place, that's their domain. And if you invade that domain, they will attack you. Is that right? And dogs are not the only one, there are other animals that will do that. They don't like when you invade their domain. And I have to think about, in the spirit world, sometimes it seems like they have staked out their domain. And it's almost like, this is mine. You don't come here. You don't come around here. And so we need to understand that when we step into that domain, there's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle, and vice versa, because they are coming down on the church, which is not their domain, and therefore there's a struggle again. So sometimes we're on the offensive, and sometimes we're on the defensive. I don't know how your experiences have been, but, I'm 60 years old. And I can say that in my lifetime, I think I can say truthfully that I have felt evil and darkness. I have felt it. And it is very real. It is a feeling that once you feel it, you know what it is. You know what it is. And it's not a good feeling. It's not a feeling that you'd want to pay money for to go experience. Because it just isn't. In fact, I think, and I'm not quite sure, that there have been some experiences that I think that I've had to struggle with maybe evil spirits. I don't know. But I've had some struggles. And I still wonder what kind of struggles they were. And the reason I say that is because while I don't know for sure what kind of struggles I had or experienced, I do know for sure that the spirit world is very real. And what's out there is real. And so, in the Gospels, we read of Jesus, confronting the spirits, and a number of times it would say, and immediately the spirit left him, and he would cast out a spirit, and immediately there was change. There is an interesting passage, and I came across this just a night or so ago, and I thought this was very interesting. In the book of Mark, chapter 5, when Jesus was, and his disciples, I believe his disciples were with him, and they were going across the Sea of Galilee, and they came, it says, to the country of the Gadarenes. And immediately a man met him, the man with an evil spirit. Now right there, that's interesting, because this man it tells us they could not control this man. Everybody was scared of him. He had like a domain, basically. And everybody was afraid of him. They would tie him with chains, and he'd break the chains. And here comes Jesus, right up there, where this man was. That's interesting. The Bible doesn't tell us, doesn't give us that picture. So I'm just reading between the lines here. Is that this was probably a place that Nobody wanted to be around. And Jesus docked right there and came out. And then it tells us that the man started, it seems like he was having a back and forth with Jesus. Like there was a struggle there. And the reason is because in verse 8 it says in the King James, "For he said unto him, Come out of the man." So in the passage it tells us that the evil spirit was talking to Jesus, but saying, please don't send me away. Please don't send us away. And then it says the reason is because, for he said unto him, Come out of the man. For Jesus said unto him, Come out of the man. Now that is very interesting because in the original, and you know, we need to be careful about this going to the original because we just need to be careful. But at the same time, we need to remember that when Jesus was here, it was not in English. He didn't speak in English. He spoke in a different language. Okay? So it was translated. But in the original, it says, and I checked a number of different translations, and some translations said, for he was saying to him. Now that's interesting. He was saying to him. In fact, okay, let's see. In the NIV, I think there was in the NIV, for he was saying to him, Come out of the man. I'm trying to remember what some of the other translations said, but it almost seems like, in this case, there was not this immediate thing. In other words, it gives me the picture of Jesus telling the man, telling the spirit, you need to leave. Come out of this man. I said, come out of the man. Come out of the man. And he probably repeated himself 3 times. I don't know. Because it said, for he was saying to him. So there's a possibility that there, and in fact, the spirit was answering him before the spirit came out. So there seemed to be a struggle. In other words, and I see, I always wondered, why does it seem like this sometimes? Because as Christians, we know that God has a victory. We know that God is greater than the devil. So I've always struggled with this idea that there might be a struggle. And anymore, I wonder. I think sometimes there is. Somebody has said it this way. If you are struggling with evil or with something, it means that you must be doing something right. Now, we can run away with that, but I think there's a truth there. If you are not struggling, you may have to worry a little bit. If you're struggling with evil, it means that you're doing something. You must be doing something right. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 12, Jesus said, from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Now, I think there's a different meaning there, but I think it's applicable here because it's talking about a struggle. In the Christian life, there is a struggle, and we're not going to be Christians. If we're Christians and everything is easy and nothing is ever hard, something is wrong. I think we can settle on that because there's going to be a struggle to be a Christian. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4, where it talks about the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. I believe it says there. So this struggle, what we're talking about, is not a physical struggle. The Christian life is not a life of force. You don't force anybody. The Christian life is a life, it's a life of appeal. You appeal to somebody. You appeal to people. You never, and I think I'm right on this, you never force anybody to be a Christian or to do anything as far as Christianity is concerned. It's never by force. It's never. It's by appeal. It's by your own free will. Always. The struggle, it tells us here in Matthew, in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4, is not carnal, it says. Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. Now, I'm running out of time here, but let's quickly look at this other one here. And this is closely related, but most of us, maybe all of us, have seen beggars. You go to Clarksville or Bowling Green, you'll see them. I mean, any big city in the U.S. Interesting. I saw this the other day. There's this one city where they do not have homeless people. They don't have beggars. And it's this, what's the name of this city over in the Middle East? And I don't remember what the name is. Dubai, I think that's what, I think that was the city. They have no homeless people. Everybody there is rich. Interesting. Okay, here's the question. Have you ever begged? Have you ever been in a position where you had to beg? Have you ever wondered how those people get to the place where they literally were begging? They were begging. They're asking. And I'm sure you've experienced this. People, they beg. They ask, please, can you give me $1? Please, for $1. Imagine yourself doing that. Okay? Begging. Why would somebody get to that place where they're begging? Why do they beg? How did they get there? I think it was interesting. I took a course some time ago, and there was this article that I had to analyze. But it was this man in New York, I think. He lived in a high-end apartment. He made a lot of money, and he went to this high-end restaurant. He said sometimes, like every day he was there, high-end restaurant. Food expensive. Good food, but very expensive. He had the money. He was able to do it. And he lived like that for a while. And then his money dried up. He lost his apartment, and he found himself on the street. And he knew where money was. He knew people that went to that restaurant had a lot of money. So he would hang out there. And he talked about the one day he was there, and everybody that came in, he would beg. This guy, he would beg. He would ask, please, do you have any money? Things are hard right now. I don't remember exactly what all he said. But nobody gave him anything. In fact, the owner of the restaurant came outside, knew him. The owner of the restaurant knew him. Came outside to throw some water out or something. And he was begging the owner, and the owner basically was chasing him away. Just get out of here. Just don't stay around here. Until finally in the evening, somebody gave him $20. I thought that was interesting. Luke 11, verse 8, talks about how this man went to the neighbor and begged for a loaf of bread because he had some family visitors came, and he needed something, so food. So he went over to the neighbor and begged, and the neighbor said, "I'm not getting up. I'm in bed with my children. The door is closed. I'm not getting up." And he kept on, and he kept on, and the Bible says in King James, because of his importunity, the man said, "I will get up," because this man just is persistent. He just stays there. I thought it was interesting. The NIV says, instead of saying because of his importunity, the NIV says because of his shameless audacity. Okay? Some other translation said because of his shameless persistence, he got help. Sometimes in prayer, we need to keep on and keep praying. Do not give up. And one of the reasons that those beggars get to that place where they're begging is because they're at the end of themselves. They have to. If that's the only thing they can do. And if they don't, they'll starve. Okay? So when we get to that place where we see our need of God, and we keep on, and we keep on, and we keep on, there's a sense where, and I need to close here, but there's a sense where we need to seek God's will, and we need to be satisfied with God's will, and there's a sense where we need to keep on. We just need to keep on praying. I think that's brought out in Luke 11:8 about this man's importunity. I think I'll stop there. Thank you for your attention.
Well, I appreciate those thoughts, Roger. Some good stuff. And, that verse that you stated about the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. That's one that puzzled my dad for years, and me too. I never did figure that one out. But anyway, we appreciate you sharing and taking the time to prepare and share with us. And so, I guess at this time we'll take prayer requests.
I'd like to express prayer for my cousin Nelson Hirschberger. He's coming through some difficult times, and spiritually I think he's in a good place, but he's very troubled and needs to hear from God.
Intervention,
Yeah, he needs direction.
guidance.
Yeah. And also pray for Dave and Elizabeth. They're still enthusiastically evangelizing, but they don't have a church to fellowship with. I feel like that's a big need. So pray for them. And also Matt and Shirley and the Martin family. Jim and Dad Martin.
Okay. Let's pray for Jeff and Ange. They got a pretty serious situation there with their pregnancy, and Wes and Susan, yes. Jeff's dad, Richard. Just for the same thing as salvation, or?
Yeah. Salvation. It's pretty opposed to believe about Jesus.
Our government. Boy, our country needs prayer.
For our young people, as parents, we relate to them and how to guide them, pray that they can be spiritual young people, and love the Lord, and encourage them.
Our youth, yes.
Pray for our school board, teachers.
School board and teachers. I know the last time we had a few sick folks. I know Danny Bradley died now, and but there were some others, I thought. Maybe they all got better.
Pray for my brother-in-law, Mark Ash. He's diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Mardash, that's Ken's brother.